doing. Oh, he told me it was to let them know that Fairfax was mustered and ready. But I knew if we went to war, that they would need Virginia to lead them. For are we not the greatest of the colonies? The most land, the most influential people, the most money. So think about the Virginia Convention and the men that were sent. Mr. Henry, are you going to take the mouthpiece of the revolution and send him to war? Mr. Lee, are you going to send him to war? The man that is the greatest orator. Are you going to send Peyton Randolph, a fairly large man, but also your president? Or are you going to send a man who walks into the chamber in his uniform he wore in the French and Indian War and standing at 6'3"? Who are you going to choose as commander-in-chief? Now, what did surprise me, though, is in that letter he said he'd see me in the fall. So, ladies, by a raise of your hand, if your husband says he will see you in the fall, how many of you believe that means your husband's coming home to you? How many of you believe you're taking a trip in the fall? You see, I thought when Mr. Washington stepped into the public arena, I could be his private side. Mr. Washington and I have always been very private people. I thought I could live at home and be the private side of the Washington family while my husband took on the public role. But in the fall, I received a letter saying to me, "Can I take you all into my confidences for a moment? Even your children?" My husband calls me Patsy. He says, "Patsy, my dearest, will you come to Massachusetts Bay to be with me?" Now, if you talk to my mother, if you ever go to New Kent and talk to my mother, I am the oldest of 8 children. My mother will tell you, of all her children, I am the most petulant. If I don't want to do something, I won't do it. And I did not want to go to Massachusetts Bay. Now, madam, please don't hear, I did not want to be with my husband. I wanted to be with Mr. Washington greatly. But if you, madam, your husband goes off to war, and if your son is not the age of his majority as far as the world is concerned, for my son was not 20 and 1, but he was over the age of 10 and 6, so as far as the army was concerned, my son was a man. So, madam, think about it. You have boys, you have a husband there. What decision would you make to save your boy from going to war? Would you take him to your husband knowing he's already at war? You see, I knew that though Mr. Washington was not my son's father, my son had always said that he did not know why his father died at such a tender age. But the name of father could not be given better than to the man who plays the part of one, as Mr. Washington always has for him. What I was afeared was my son would go to Massachusetts Bay with me, and then I would be coming home by myself. I thought that was a decision just betwixt Mr. Washington and myself, until I got the New York newspaper. The New York newspaper, a loyalist paper, said that Mr. Washington had called for his wife to come to Massachusetts Bay, and she seems happy to be staying in Virginia. Perhaps Mrs. Washington is a warm loyalist, and her husband and she are estranged due to the cause of America. I had a fitful night's sleep. Next morning, I had my decision, whether I liked it or not. I was faced for you women and the revolution. So I took off my silks that day. I put on homespun or gowns made from other gowns. I was going to show when I went to Massachusetts Bay that I was a portrait of frugality and loyalty to my husband and to his cause. And I have done it ever since. I have been to Morristown twice. I have been to Valley Forge. I have been to Middlebrook. And coming back from Morristown this time, I stopped and talked to 2 other ladies. Mr. Franklin's daughter was one of them, Sarah Bache and Esther Reed. And when those 2 ladies heard of the condition of our men, The snow and the ice being so bad, they could not even get their tents built. Young boys such as this find firewood because everyone must work in my husband's army. Madam, you back there with the little ones, if you had to go to war with your husband, camp followers is what my husband calls you. Sometimes he calls you baggage, but he doesn't do that anymore. But you have to work as much as your husband does. You have to either cook or do laundry, or you must sew. And that means the younger children must work. One shall watch the little girl, but others will work. Young lady here, you will watch your brothers while your mother cooks so that your brothers stay away from the fire. But the snow and the ice was so bad that you would not even have a tent. When I arrived, men were upon the ground. They moved the snow away, they found the earth, and they laid as close as they could to one another without even the benefit of blanket. When I told of the condition of our men to these women of Pennsylvania, they did not say idle. When I got home, I had this parchment waiting for me. It's called The Sentiments of an American Woman. These women looked all the way back to antiquity, to our Bibles, to Esther and to Ruth. Women that went beyond their sex. They even went to Volumnia, the woman that saved the Roman people. They put all that in this parchment, but these are the words I like the best. Who amongst us will not renounce with the highest pleasure those vain ornaments when she shall consider that the valiant defenders of America will be able to draw some advantage from the money which she may have laid out in these, that they will be better defended from the rigors of the season, that after their painful toils they will receive some extraordinary or unexpected relief, that these presents will perhaps be valued by them at a greater price when they will have it in their power to say, "This is the offering of the ladies." Ladies, what we're asking you now to do is to come up with 20 shillings. Now, I see your face already, madam. Don't worry. If you do not have it yourself, gather together with the woman next to you and the woman behind. Once you have the 20 shillings together, you come together, go to your parish churches and put the money in. Once the parish churches come together, and that is why I'm here. I'm here to talk to the governor's wife, Mrs. Jefferson. Once you gather the money together, it shall go to the governor's wife. When the governor's wife has all the money managed together, then she shall send it. Now I look at your faces wondering, well, I am the commander-in-chief's wife, why do I not? Well, you have to look at the back of the parchment. The back of the parchment says that the women do not trust Congress with their money. That the women only trust Mrs. Washington, that all the money shall come to me. And if I am betwixt a winter camp and home, what they are to do is send the money to the first soldier of the Republic. That is my husband. But he is only to accept it in my absence. With that being said, there is a young lady over here that I have promised this parchment to. Come here. I want you, young lady, oh, don't cry. I want you, young lady, to have that parchment. I want you to show all these ladies that parchment when you have able. But you keep that for posterity's sake, knowing that we ladies will raise 300,000 continental dollars for the American cause. Hey. And 100 guineas of that shall come from the Marquis de Lafayette's wife in France. You may go take your leave with your mother. You're quite welcome. So, gentlemen and ladies, it is my pleasure to be amongst my home again, amongst Virginia, along with Fielding Lewis, who is taking care of the ironworks for my husband. He is married to my husband's sister Betty, and Mr. Mason, who shall be escorting me to Mount Vernon, my neighbor, Gunston Hall. We shall be about for your pleasure. I hope that you will take opportunity to speak with me, for I wish to speak with you. I thank you very much.